I tend to find that when I overthink or just spend lost in the sauce of just thoughts, um, typically doesn't fare well for me. And I say that as someone in hindsight. It's 12:37 a.m. on a Saturday night, and I just spent roughly 2 hours sitting outside my dorm, just kind of alone in silence. I feel like, you know, Friedrich Nietzsche said, who's a very famous German philosopher, the idea of the utilitarian man, to the point where, he predicted in the 1800s that eventually humanity and mankind will ascend into a creature of the sort where the only thing favored is, those dopamine hits, seeking the most pleasure while avoiding the most suffering. And I think in many ways have ascended to that point where, especially in college, loneliness, I feel like, is more prevalent than ever because, um, your value, your metric based on, how well am I doing, it's always a comparison. If you were living in a remote rural village, loneliness has a different connotation, a different standard, a different bar than, in a very, very big university. But I wanted to expand on that idea of constantly chasing that dopamine rush. I feel like I'm guilty of it as well, where this constant pressure of seeking out pleasure, no matter how, you know, by any means of, I'm gonna, scroll on TikTok, I'm gonna refresh my Instagram until I get that red notification of someone either followed me, liked something, or sent me a DM, or Snapchat, red is a color that's used throughout all notifications on Instagram and Snapchat and YouTube and just your entire phone in general. I think that's very purposeful. Red is a cautionary color. Induces a lot of emotion, and that's something we want to seek out. But Nietzsche also spoke heavily on the idea that without suffering, without pain, there is no um, beauty, there is no um, reward in completing hard tasks. I'm not saying, you have to suffer constantly and always be depressed. That's not the point. But if, you're only in for something for pleasure, and as soon as that pleasure's not there, you don't mind, you know, leaving it, I think that's where we as mankind has fell off in a sense. And like I said, that's all basis of comparison. If we were all living in our own little worlds like it was Minecraft, you can go at your own pace, you can do your own thing. But, sometimes when I sit down to think about all the mistakes I've made, people I've lost in my life, not just death, but, you know, people that have left, uh, no more. There's not a presence, I guess, of them in my life anymore. Shoulda, coulda, wouldas in my life. I start to think, what is my purpose? What am I doing this all for? If I'm always craving more, and it's not about like being satisfied with what you have, but I think it's more about being grateful. Um, I think an interesting question would be, if you could relive your life, all the pain, all the joys, all the little sighs, all the reliefs, all the good food, all the bad food, would you do it again? Would you live the exact same life from start to finish over and over again? And as depressing as this video is already, I apologize for that, but I think my answer to that question would be yes, because there's been so many instances just in the past few months where I think to myself, you know what, I will always appreciate this moment for what it was. And you know, there have been those sort of few moments. Um, I could think graduating from high school, giving a good speech, just seeing my parents' faces, my brother's reaction, those sort of things. And other things I don't really want to, I'll keep private, but those sort of moments make life all the more worth it for me. And I feel like that alone makes me, especially the idea of like losing out on people. Um, those memories I had, those moments, they were so magical that, you can't really describe it. And I think that's definitely a good thing. And so to the question is, would I relive my life over and over again? I would say 100%, because those moments, in my opinion, have justified my entire life. So, long story short, the idea of pain, you know, being equivalent to beauty. Obviously, I'm not seeking out pain. I'm not seeking out suffering. Rather, I'm accepting it when it comes. Because I feel as though, and this is not original thought, obviously, but I subscribe to the idea that all the pain and suffering I have endured and I will continue to endure. And that includes, pain that I accidentally inflict onto others. It's never my intention to do it, but, there's always the occasional slip up. Or, being judged or being made fun of. All those things culminate to those special moments in my life that I wish I could relive over and over again. And to quote Drake, at 6 p.m. in New York, I wish I could go back, not to change things, but to live a couple things twice, something along those lines. Thank you to Dylan for putting me on that song. You know who you are, but yeah, I just had an interesting thought. Um, Loneliness is definitely real. Well, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it.